My name is Wendy Aldaman. You are here today with Career Elevations. We're going to be talking all about how you can negotiate your salary in a job interview. And this is kind of applicable if you are also working at a place and you want to get a pay raise as well. You're going to get a lot of valuable tips today, and the last section, the last bit of tips are going to be golden, like the best. They won't know what hit them, and honestly, it's going to be so hard for them to even know that you put that tip in there. So I encourage you to watch the entire video, like, share, and I will have you comment a little bit later on as well. So thank you so much for joining me, and let's get into it. Before we get into the things that I would like for you to do in an interview to negotiate your salary, I want to tell you the biggest thing that I don't want you to do with negotiating a salary. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to tell them via email any of this information. I don't want you to ask them what the benefits are. I don't want you to tell them I want $50,000 a year or $70,000 or $100,000 a year. What will be better is talking to them in person. Now, obviously right now is COVID, a second wave is probably coming, is coming, it is here actually. So you're probably gonna have some video conference calls. If you are meeting in person, if this is a thing you're able to do, or down the road when COVID is gone, let's hope that that's sometime soon. But in the future, when we can meet in person, we can interview in person, these tips are gonna be freaking golden, okay? This is something I really want you to implement within any part of your interview, but with negotiating a salary, this is going to be really great for you to be able to get the dollar amount that you want. So don't ever do this over a text message or email. Think about the last time when you sent a text message and it wasn't conveyed the way that you wanted, and they got upset with you because they interpreted it this way, but you really meant it this way instead. Also, I want you to think about the fact of if they have not given you a pay range or pay scale, and their expectation is that you're gonna get $50,000 a year and you ask for $80,000 a year. That is so far off. So if you ever send them an email or a text message saying, this is how much I wanna make, if you are so far off, you are gonna put them off, and you could potentially be out of the running completely. Now, if that is the case where $50,000 versus $80,000, if that's the difference that you're looking for here, try to push the negotiation part of the interview to the end if at all possible. But before this question, I really elaborate more in my last video, Interview the Interviewer. So what I want you to do with Interview the Interviewer, I want you to take this point away. When you are in an interview, especially in the beginning, if you can ask this, I want you to ask them, what traits are you looking for in an employee? This is also going to be another aspect that you can really implement into your entire interview, but you can also sprinkle in some of this information when you're talking about your pay that you are going to get. Not that you want, that you're going to get. Also, when you're talking in an interview, I don't want you to say the words want. You don't want to make $80,000 a year. You're going to make $80,000 a year. You need to negotiate with them, and you need to convince them how you're worth this much money. You need to tell them and explain to them how you are going to be an asset to the team versus saying that you want to make $80,000. You're going to because you bring these certain things to the table. And these three things are going to be what you're going to set yourself aside from the other candidates. And these three things are going to be three different aspects that you are already working on and implementing so that you can become the best worker that they have or that they have ever seen. Which, if you take that question what are the traits that you're looking for in an employee, you can take some of those traits and put them in how you are already working to fix them. Yes, you're gonna have to think quickly, but I will tell you, it will be so worth it. So rather than having to worry about thinking quickly, what can you do? You can do your homework, you can do your research, you can come up with different aspects and traits that they may be looking to implement or to improve upon within their company, and you can see how you can take those traits and you can be working on them. For example, if you are looking for more leadership in your life or better speaking skills in your life, you can join Toastmasters. If you are looking for some more organization, you may want to take on a role at your local association for whatever it is that you do. If you take on a role in your association and you're the secretary, you're the vice president, or you're the president, whatever your role may be, this will show that you are organized, and you can tell them by doing some of these things how you are organized. So those are just two different examples that you can give to them. Now, if you're not in Toastmasters and you're not part of an association, I highly encourage you to do that, to join some kind of a club, some kind of an association that will help on your resume, because that will help to sell yourself and to negotiate more money, because you're investing your extra time, you're investing your extra money, and you can take some of these benefits that you're getting from Toastmasters or the association, and you can implement it directly into the work that you're doing now. For example, if the last company that you worked for was generating $1 million a year, we're just going to give round numbers, it's a little bit easier, and you were able to save them by doing this one thing, implementing this one thing, you were able to save them $100,000 a year. That's 10%. So within this example, if the company you're going to work with is a $10 million a year company, rather than saying that you saved your current company $100,000 a year, rather than saying that, you can say, I implemented this procedure and it was able to save our company 10% a year by cutting costs from doing blah, 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 whatever it was. So $100,000 a year to $1 million company is significant. $100,000 to a $10 million company is kind of just a drop in the bucket, if you will. Now, these are the kind of things that I want you to think about and wrap your head around before going into the interview. I want you to get numbers that you can really use in your interview to show them, to prove to them what it is that you have done. So again, with the $100,000 and the 10%, I want you to continue to take some of these examples with what you've done or how much time you've been able to save from each employee or yourself or a coworker or even your boss. I want you to take some of those examples and I want you to think a little bit more broad. So if you were able to save 8 hours a week with a 10-person crew, what percentage of time does that save? So if the $10 million a year company that you're going to go work for sees that 8 hours is saved versus your $1 million a year company, 8 hours might be a big deal. It might be 10% of what they would pay out to their employees per week, whatever it was. And if you say 10% instead of 8 hours to a $10 million a year company, 10% is going to be so much more significant than 8 hours. So do some of these calculations and see how it can be with what it is that you have already done, so that you're conveying to both aspects. This also means that you have to research your position a little bit more. If you bring to the table that you want to make $80,000 a year, but in your region, in your state, in your area for this position, they only make $30,000, $40,000, you're going to be way far off in left field. So research the position for the size company, for the state, for the region, for the area, and that will really be able to help you solidify how you're going to be able to bring value to this new company. If they ask you, when you're not quite ready to talk about it within the interview, if they ask you what is it that you want to make per year, rather than necessarily giving them an $80,000, rather than doing that, instead you can say, what is your budget? With that, you can also then go into elaborate what benefits that you might be getting. If you get a clothing allowance, if you get a 401k, if you get health insurance, or maybe if your family gets any kind of benefit from the company that you could potentially work for. If you can negotiate to $70,000 a year, but all of your benefits give you an additional $10,000 a year, I want you to take that into effect for what you have been working for. And if they have some kind of a bonus system that you can also utilize to increase your yearly compensation, take all of these aspects into consideration. And if you need to write all these down and take them home and really study it, really look at it, that's something that you might have to do. And then you can tell them, could we please meet up in a few days or in a week so that we can discuss this a little bit further once I really run the numbers, or talk to my husband, talk to my wife, talk to my business partner, my accountant, however it might be. If you can stop talking about the budget or how much they could pay you and take that into another conversation with leaving them on a really positive note, that's going to be really key here. One of the last resorts that you can utilize within negotiating is if you are just really far off, but not so far off, if you can convince them that you will be such a great asset to this team. If you want to make $80,000 a year and they're like, oh, my max is really 60 or 70, then you can tell them, or you can ask them, how about we reevaluate this in 6 months or 12 months? So either you can ask them to pay you the $80,000 for 6 months or 12 months, but if you do that, keep in mind how long of a duration, because it's going to take some getting used to the time, the operations. Even if you're doing the exact same tasks in another company, there's usually so much to learn within the company, and you want to be able to really jive and fit in with the company culture as well. So if you're able to talk them into giving you the amount of money that you want, and then reevaluating in 6 months or 12 months or X amount of time, if you can reevaluate at that time and they say, we can bump my pay down to, instead of 80, we can bump it down to 70 or whatever you think it might be. But that means that you're gonna have to work your ass off for 6 months or for 12 months to make sure that you deserve and that they see that you deserve that $80,000 a year. You know you deserve it. You know that you're capable of doing all of these tasks that you have already told them, but you need to prove it and you need to show it and do anything possible to make it so that they don't take that portion of money away from you. Now that is a little bit risky, but if you're able to take that and then save that money in case something happens, or in case at the end of 6 months or 12 months they're like, it's just not really working for the $80,000, ask them what it is that you can do. But along the same kind of lines, if you can settle for 70 right now and then tell them in 6 months or in 12 months, can we reevaluate to see if you think that I am worth the 80,000? Some companies don't give pay raises for a whole year or for 2 years, and even then sometimes it's only 3% or 5%. So if you're gonna go from 70 or 60 to 80, however much you're negotiating, I want you to make sure that in the first amount of time, whatever you negotiate, in that first amount of time that you are working your ass off, okay? You deserve the money, but you have to show them that you deserve the money. You're convincing them, you're portraying to them what you're worth. You know, don't forget that if you tell them some of these things, you ask for this amount of money, you tell them that this is what you can do and this is what you're worth, and they just flat out say we can't do it, whether it's for budgets or if they don't think that you're capable of doing whatever tasks that you can do, you can also walk away. Don't forget that. There will be another job, there will be another position. If this doesn't work out for any reason, there will be something else that is around the corner for you. So don't feel like you have to take this job just because you're in the interview with them. That's the furthest thing from what I want you to do. You should never leave an interview, especially a first interview. You should never leave a first interview and accept the job. You should always say, do you mind if you give me a few hours or a few days or a week? Don't ask for too much time. Do you mind if you give me X amount of time so that I can make sure that all my ducks are in a row? Do keep in mind though, if you give them too much time, they may end up finding another candidate that may want less with close to the same attributes that you have. So be very conscious and cognizant of how much time you're asking to get to be able to say yes or no. Here are the extra juicy tips that they don't want you to really know about. This is gonna be sly. They're not even gonna know that you're doing this because you're gonna practice ahead of time, right? Because you've got time. This isn't the same day of the interview, and if it is, then I encourage you to be very cautious with this. I want you to practice with this if you can, okay? I want you to build rapport secretly with them. So before going into an interview, I want you to do your Amy Cuddy power pose. You're standing like a superwoman. I want you to stand with your feet shoulder width apart. I want you to put your hands on your hips. I want you to listen to some really positive music or a really great YouTube video or something really motivational. And I also want you, while you're standing here for 2 minutes straight, standing just like this, I want you to think about something that has given you so much joy, so much positivity, and I want you to embrace that and feel those feelings and feel how you felt when you were doing this positive thing, okay? So if you're here, you're thinking about that, you're gonna have a smile on your face. You're going to end up with more energy. You're going to rock that interview better than any other one because you have embodied the positivity, which is what you need. The next little piece of this goes into, I want you to mirror what they're doing. So if you walk in to an interview or an interview room, and how is that person feeling? How is that person acting? They're probably very confident. They're a manager, a hiring manager, an owner, however big the company is, and they're confident in what they do because they've been doing it. So I want you to embody that confidence. I want you to mirror that confidence. So that Amy Cuddy power pose is going to be really helpful here for you to be able to gather that confidence and gather that strength to be able to take into the interview. So if you walk into the interview and they put their hand out and you go to shake their hand, I want you to shake their hand exactly like they shake your hand. So if they shake your hand and they do the hand over top of the hand, I want you to do that. If they are standing with their feet shoulder width apart and just talking to you like that, I want you to do that. If their hand is on their hip, I want your hand to be on your hip. Now, this doesn't have to be in a creepy way. Don't get me wrong. I don't want you to think that you have to do everything exactly as they do it. But if you're able to take the moves and the positions that they embody, I want you to take that and do that. If you mirror them in their head subconsciously, they will think that they like you. So within just the movements, I also want you to do the same gestures. So if you see somebody and they do the same gesture and they're talking about something and they just keep doing this, I want you to do that same thing, okay? If they're sitting back in their chair like this, be cautious on that one because you don't want to seem cocky. You know, they are confident. I want you to match the tone of their voice, the speed of their voice. I want you to match as much as you can when going into this interview. Think about somebody that you really admire or a good friend of yours. Think about the attributes that they have. Just think about that for a second. So I love my best friend because she is confident, she is a businesswoman, she is organized. So these are the things that I think is awesome about her, okay? So the things that are awesome about her, I also either feel that I have those attributes or I want those attributes. So if you can take some of the attributes that they have and mirror them, they will feel that you two are alike. Have you ever seen the video of the interview where there's an interviewer and an interviewee, and then there's somebody on the other side of a glass window, or they're watching on a video, but they can't hear anything? They end up coming to the same conclusion, the person who's watching and the interviewer. They come to the same conclusion because of the body language that the interviewer puts off. So have that in the back of your mind. If somebody was watching you from a video, how would they think that this is going? So this is why I said earlier, I want you to practice this before going into the interview, because you don't want to seem robotic with doing everything exactly the way that they do it, with their hand motions like this and your leg is crossed and your arms are on your hips. You don't want to do everything exactly like they do, but you want to mirror it to the point right before they notice, okay? So how you can practice this at home. If you have something really big or kind of sticky that you can talk about to your spouse or to your kids, if you can embody them, if you can mirror them, and you're in a conversation, you want to talk about your kids going to college and you think it's just a really sticky situation. I don't know, I'm just pulling something out of the air. If you talk to your spouse about this, or you talk to your kids about this, let's say we're going to talk to your kid about this. So your kid's going to stand here like this, and they're going to be like, oh my God, you just shut up. If you have the same kind of energy as them, they're going to stop. They're going to pause, and they're going to think, why is she thinking the same thing that I'm thinking? Like, why is she so on my level? Get on their level, and you can understand them, and they will understand you. Most of us like ourselves, right? So if someone is mirroring you and you feel like, wow, this person is so much like me, hopefully they don't think, wow, I would really hate to work with myself. Hopefully they will think, I would love to work with this person because I'm a hard worker, because I am so organized, because I am so positive. They want to take those good traits from themselves, which you can also take some of those traits from earlier that I was talking about, and you can kind of put those into what it is that you're doing, you're embodying within your interview. So asking that question, what are the traits that you're looking for in an employee? Asking that question as far in advance as you can in the interview is such a good idea. Task for you. So practicing this mirroring. I want you to practice this with a family member of yours. I want you to take a sticky situation that you have been kind of beating around the bush, that you haven't really wanted to talk about, and I want you to talk to your family member about this. I want you to mirror what they do. If they pat you on the back 3 times to just kind of say, you know, I love you, and they just kind of tap your back, I want you to do that. If they look directly into your eyes and they lock eyes with you, I want you to stay with locked eyes. I want you to even synchronize your breathing with your spouse, with your family member, with the interviewer. I want you to mirror as much as you can. So when you do that homework tonight, or today, tomorrow, whenever it needs to be, but very soon, I don't want you to forget about these steps. If you can do that, so subscribe to this so that I pop back up so it's easy to find me. I want you to comment below and tell me if you got your way. If you were able to get whatever that sticky situation was, if you were able to get or achieve whatever your end goal was with that, I want you to put it in the comments below. This is something that you can utilize in your real life situations, and this can help you for the long run, the long term. If you have clients and you're trying to sell something to them, match their tone, their speed, match their breathing, match as much as you can to them. They will buy from you time after time after time because they trust themselves, so they will feel that they can trust you as well. You've heard what the acronym for fear is, right? False evidence appearing real. How many times have you been fearful of an interview because you think it's going to go so terribly because all of your interviews in the past have been bad? Well, if you're watching this video, that means that you're preparing. You're probably doing more than what you did for your last interviews if your interviews failed in the past. So take that fear and just throw it away. I don't give a shit what you do with it, but don't leave that fear in your head. You need to walk in confident. You need to be positive. You need to hold your head up high. If you're walking in and your shoulders are slumped over and you're like, "Hi, my name is Sally." No, you need to walk in with your shoulders back and say, "Hi, my name is Sally. I'm looking for Mr. Jones." You see how much different that looked and how that felt? You probably saw that and felt that, right? I felt so much more confident. "Hi, I'm Sally. I'm looking for Mr. Jones." It sounds wonderful, okay? So I want you to embody the positivity and the confidence that you know you have deep down inside. So take that fear and just throw it away. When we think about all of those negative things that could happen, what percentage of the time do those things actually happen? I used to be the biggest worrier in the whole world. I would my stomach would get I would have gnats in my stomach because I would be so nervous, so scared of doing whatever task I needed to do, until I realized, how often do all of those negative things actually happen? Hardly ever. Since I've been able to do that, I have done so much more in this world in the last few years than I had ever done before. And yes, I'm not that old, but I will tell you, I've had more experiences within the last 5 years than I have my entire life with feeling positive and feeling confident. So I encourage you to take that fear and just throw it away. You don't give a shit about that fear. I want you to take all of these tips and I want you to really study them. I really want you to do some mirroring activities at home before you go into the interview to help you prepare for this. And if you need more assistance, this Thursday, June 25th, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I have a free Zoom call, a Q&A. So you bring your questions, I'll bring the answers to those questions. Have some PJs on if you want to, I don't really care. Have a beverage, but bring a notebook so that you can write down some of these answers, write down some questions that you might have. I want to prepare you the best that you can be for your next interview. I wish you the best of luck in this interview. You will rock it. You know you can. Do your power pose and feel so confident walking in there, okay? So I will see you next week. Actually, I'll see you on Thursday, and then I'll see you next week. See you soon. Thanks for stopping by, and don't forget to check out my website for any other tips and tricks that you might be looking for with switching careers, with interviews, with resume building, with resignation letters. What you need help with, I have in there. So head on over. The link is in the show notes below. See you soon.